G'day folks, welcome along to your very first video tutorial here in Microsoft's MakeCode Arcade. Now what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is learning how to program our very own video games using this free piece of software. So if you jump onto your web browser and go to arcade.makecode.com, you will end up on this website. Okay, and this is where all of the fun happens. So on the home page here, what we've got are a whole heap of different tutorials basically that will help you get started on creating your own games. But we're going to do our own tutorial today. You can look at these in your own time. The game we're going to be making today is called Chase the Chicken. And I'll give you a bit of a preview of it right now. Basically, you're a little dog that moves around the screen and chases a piece of chicken. I think that bit of chicken was behind the timer then. And what you've got to do is collect that chicken within 3 seconds. If you don't, then it's game over. Each time you collect the piece of chicken, the clock restarts to 3 seconds again. So it's pretty easy. You can adjust that timer to make it a little bit harder. I'll show you how to do that as the tutorial goes on though. You'll notice in the top right corner up here, you also get a point each time you collect the chicken. And once the timer runs out, it is game over. The screen will tell you your final score. So I collected the chicken 17 times then, and I also got a new best score. Woohoo! Alright, so that is what we're going to be creating today. I know it's simple, but we do have to start somewhere and get the basic skills of MakeCode Arcade down pat before we can get into the more complex games. Alright, so I want you to head back over to the MakeCode Arcade homepage, and from there I want you to click on the orange button on the left hand side of the screen that says New Project. And we are going to call this project Chase the Chicken. Click on Create. Okay, now once you do click on Create, you will be greeted with a couple of things actually. On the left hand side here, you've got a simulator, which is like a little game controller, and it's going to show you in real time what your game looks like. Because we haven't done any coding yet, my game is a blank screen. Okay, but on the right hand side here, this is where we get to code up our game. Coming in the middle here, this is our toolbox. This is where you find blocks of code to build your game with. Okay, if you click on these drawers in the toolbox, you're going to find blocks of code inside of them. Okay, and there's heaps of different drawers here with lots of different code to create all sorts of different games. So it's just going to take a bit of practice, I guess, over the next few weeks to work out what all these different blocks of code do. We're not going to use them all in this course, but you're going to use a good chunk of them to create some pretty cool little games. Okay, so let's get started on our first game today. Now, when I start coding games, I usually put in the background first of all. Okay, so to put in the background in Microsoft's MakeCode Arcade, we need to go down to the scene drawer here in our toolbox. And you'll see the third one down here says set background color to. What I want you to do is pick up this block of code with your mouse and drag it over to the right. And just like a jigsaw, snap it into that green block of code that says on start. Now what this piece of code is saying, on start, or when our game begins and starts, we're going to set the background color to, and you can click on this little grey box and choose whatever color you want the background to be in your game. I might go with a green color for my game, and as I click on that, you'll see that the simulator kicks off over here as well, showing me what my game is looking like. So already you've completed the first step in your game. You've done your first little bit of coding. Okay, and all you've done is set your background color to green. Easy. Next thing we need to do is we need to get our player into the game. So if you remember from the example, it was a little dog. So we need to go to this top drawer in our toolbox called Sprites. Sprites are like the little elements, the little pictures that you're going to use within your game. Okay, we're going to grab this first one here that says set my sprite to sprite, blah, 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 blah. And we're going to drag that out and drop it underneath where we set our background color. We're going to change a few things in here. First of all, we want to give our sprite a name. Okay, we're not going to call it my sprite. Okay, we're going to go down to rename variable, and we're going to call it lowercase letters dog. Okay, remember I said our main player is going to be a dog. So we're going to set the dog to sprite. Now here's where you need to bring in a picture of the player or the dog. So just click on this, and if you want you can draw your own, but I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to go up to the gallery up here. And I know if I scroll down a little bit, there's 3 little yellow dogs. We're just going to click on the first one there. Okay, and that will save us drawing our own picture. Okay, so just click on Done down in the bottom right corner. And now we've set the dog to that sprite of kind player. You don't need to change player because the player is the dog. Okay, so if you have a look over at your simulator now, on the left hand side of the screen you will see your player or your little dog on the page. Okay, now he's not doing anything just yet. So what we want to do is use this little trackpad or the little controller buttons here to move him around. Okay, so you should be able to go to the controller here and just choose the first block of code. It says move my sprite with buttons. We want to move the dog with buttons. Okay, so just change that to say move dog with buttons. And if you come over to your controller here, you should be able to move that little trackpad around. Or you can use W, A, S and D on your keyboard. Or you can use your arrow keys. So lots of different ways to move your little dog around. Now he will fly off the screen if you let him. We're going to fix that in just a moment. Okay, but just make sure your little dog is moving around the screen. Okay. Now in the sprite option here, there should be an option to make our dog stay on the screen. Just got to find it. It's probably down near the bottom. Here it is. So it says set my sprite to stay in screen. We're going to put that underneath there and just change it to dog. So we're going to set the dog to stay in the screen. So now if you try and run off the screen, he will stop on the edge, and you can do that both sides, top and bottom as well. He's not going to go outside of the screen anymore, so he can't run away, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so that's our little dog done. Okay, the next thing we need to do is bring in the chicken. Okay, we want the dog to be chasing the chicken. So we need to bring in a new sprite. So let's go back up to our sprites up here and grab this first block of code again and put it down the bottom, and we're going to rename it one more time. So let's rename that variable. I'll talk about variables in future tutorials. And we're going to call this one chicken and click on OK. And we're going to set the chicken to sprite from the gallery. See if you can find the chicken. If you can't find it easily, you can go to the filter option up the top here and just search for food. That narrows it down, and there's our leg of chicken just there. There's another one over here, so whichever one you choose, doesn't matter. I'll go with that one. It's just a small drumstick, and that should appear right on top of our dog. Yep, there it is there now. So that's looking good. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our chicken start in a different position to our dog. Alright, we want our dog to start in the middle of the screen, but we want the chicken to start probably somewhere else. Otherwise it looks a bit weird like you can see right now. So let's go to our sprites up here, and we've got an option to set the position of your sprite. Okay, and we're going to set the chicken sprite position 2. Where it's got X and Y, it's a bit like coordinates on a graph. That's what we need to work with there. At the moment, 0, 0 is the top left hand corner. That's why the chicken's moved to the top left hand corner. If I start to bring that Y value up a bit, it will start to move down the page. You'll see it in just a sec when it runs. There it is, it's down the page. If you put that X value up a bit, it's going to move towards the center of the page. There you go. So we need to work out where our chicken is going to start. And what I like to do is just make the computer decide a random location. So you can go to the math code here. And if you scroll down, there is a pick random 0 to 10 block. Okay. And you can put that in the X value there. And you can put the same in the Y value. And we're going to start from 0. And we're going to put in here, from the scene option, the screen width. To zoom back a little bit here. And for the Y option, which is the up and down on our game controller, we're going to put the screen height. So it's going to choose a random location starting up in the top left hand corner to anywhere on the page, as wide as the screen goes and as high or low as the screen goes. So if we press stop and start now, you'll see that chicken moves to a new location. Stop it and start again, and the chicken moves to another location. Okay, each time you stop and play your game, that chicken should move itself to a different location. Alright, so that's looking good. We've got that off to a good start. The next thing we might do is start a countdown timer. So remember, we had 3 seconds for our dog to catch the chicken. So to start a countdown timer, we need to go to info here. This is the game information. And if we scroll down, you've got this countdown section, and we're going to start a countdown. Drop it in the bottom there, and we'll do 3 seconds. Okay, you can adjust that to a smaller number if you want to make it harder. Okay, there's a little timer up there now. Or you can might have a big number if you want to make it easy, but 3 seconds I've found is a pretty decent amount of time to chase the chicken without making it too easy or too complex for the user. Alright, what can we do next? Next thing we might do is a collision event, which means what's going to happen when the chicken and the dog collide with one another, or when they hit one another. Okay, so we're going to start a completely different section of code here. So in the Sprite section, we are going to scroll down, down, down to this overlaps section. Overlaps is basically another word for a collision between objects on your screen. So we're going to drag that out. I'll just put it down the bottom here. Okay, and it says on sprite of kind player. So remember our player sprite is the dog. So when the player overlaps with another sprite of kind, I'm going to put food. Okay, remember we've got, oh, I forgot to change that before. We've got to change a chicken drumstick there to food. So the dog is a player, that's us, and then the chicken, whoops, that's basically the computer. That's going to be a kind of food. Okay, now once we've got that sorted, just remember to double check your code down here and make sure it matches mine. So when the player overlaps or runs into another sprite of type food, what do we want to happen? Well, first of all, I want to change our score by 1. That's going to give us 1 point every time we collect a piece of chicken. Okay, and then once we hit that chicken, actually let's just test it and see what happens. So I'll go and hit that chicken, and you can see my score just kept going up then because I was sitting on top of the chicken. The chicken didn't go anywhere. I was sitting on top of it, so they were basically overlapping, so my score was just infinitely going up. Okay, what I want to happen is as soon as I hit that chicken, the chicken should jump to a new location on the screen. Alright, that's an easy enough thing to do because we did it just up here before. So let's just duplicate this block of code here that sets the chicken to a random position on the screen. So right click on it, on the blue section, and duplicate it. And just put it straight down here. That will save you redoing it, but basically saying move the chicken to a random location on the screen. So now if we go and test that, when we collect a piece of chicken, it will bounce out of the way to a new position. Okay, looking good. Next thing I want to do is just make a sound so that when we hit the chicken, the player is aware that they've actually hit it, and a little positive sound will just reinforce that they've done the right thing. So you can go to the music section here and you can look for different sounds. Now the one we are going to go with is down here in sounds where it's got play and it's got a little sound wave until done. And we're going to change that sound wave. In the gallery there, you've got a few different sounds. Have a listen to them. I think the jump one sounds good enough, so I'm going to go with the jump one. So I'll just click on it, and yeah, everything else looks good there. You don't really need to touch any of that, and click OK. So now when we collect a piece of chicken, we should have a sound appear. Let's give that a test run. Yep, working well. So you can see that the timer runs out almost straight away. We've only got 3 seconds to collect as many chickens as possible, which is not what we want. Okay, so what we need to do is reset that timer every time we touch the chicken. So that start countdown of 3 seconds, I'm just going to duplicate that code by right clicking on it, selecting duplicate, and then just putting it down the bottom here. So each time we hit the chicken, not only do we play that sound and move the chicken to a random location, we're going to restart our timer to 3 seconds. So let's just test that. You can see that that timer keeps going up to 3 seconds as I collect the chicken. Perfect. And it can still run out. Then it will say that it's game over at the end there with a score of 5. Alright, so that's looking good. We're nearly finished now. Basically the last thing I want to do is just put in what happens when the countdown timer ends. If you want, you could just leave it like this. It works fine, so you don't need to do anything else. But if you want to have like a little celebration at the end, we can just tweak the code a little bit. So in the info section there, if we go down to countdown here and choose on countdown end. I'll just put this at the bottom too. So that means when our countdown timer has finished, do a few things here. I might go to the scene and change the color of the background. Just make it purple. And then I'm going to go to the game section here. And I'm going to use the message game over once we win, or basically when the timer's run out. And then we're going to say that it is game over. There it is there. Okay, and that just means our game is completely finished then. So now when we finish our game, we should get a little bit of a celebration at the end. See the little bits of confetti coming down? Okay, so we'll just play it actually and see how that goes. So we get our chicken, our score goes up, our timer goes down, our timer resets just fine. You can't run out of the screen, this dog. Some little happy music there to announce that it's game over, and we also got the little message that says when we get a high score. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. That is our game all complete. Now, if you're in my class, I'm just going to jump back on screen here and show you this little GameGo device here. Okay, this is like a little game controller, like the one you see on your screen up in the top left-hand corner. This is what you can actually send your games over to. So what I'm going to do is just plug that into my computer with a white cable that comes in the kit. And down the bottom of your screen, you can download the code onto your GameGo device. So just click on download, and it'll give you different options. There's lots of different pieces of hardware that you can download your games to, but the one we've got in my class is Tinkergen GameGo. I'll just call it a GameGo device. Okay, if you have another device, by all means use another device. Okay, now that just downloaded it onto my computer. What I would prefer to do is send it straight to the device. So I'm going to pair it up. Okay, so I'll connect my device, click on the GameGo app and connect it. And that will get the computer talking directly with my GameGo device. Now I will show you in a moment what that looks like once it has downloaded. Shouldn't take too long, it's only a very small game. Alright, so let's have a look at this. I'll bring it up on the screen there for you. Actually, I'll make myself a bit bigger so you can see what's going on. Okay, so you can see, or vaguely see, let me try and get this right. There we go, we've got our game there, ready to play. You can move him around using the controls. And yeah, it's a bit hard to do back to front there, but you get the idea. That game has downloaded now onto the GameGo device, and you can have a bit of a play there with your handheld device. So that's about it, folks. That's your very first game in MakeCode Arcade done and dusted. You've done some pretty simple coding. You've sent it across to your little game controller. We're off to a good start. I'll catch you in the next video tutorial where we're going to create a slightly more complex game. I'll see you then.